Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy, watching all the Star Wars we can get our hands on. I'm Eli.
I'm Jacob.
This is episode 68. This is the final episode of season 8 of Star Wars in a Galaxy.
Wow.
Not the final episode, just the final episodic episode. Today we are going to be covering the final arc of Season 5 of Star Wars The Clone Wars. That is Ahsoka's trial. Sabotage, the Jedi who knew too much, the Catch a Jedi, and the Wrong Jedi. I'm excited to get into this. This is a heavy arc.
Oh yeah, this is a very heavy arc, so strap in. Yeah.
Strap in. Let's
Strap in
let's
is all
do
I
this.
can,
Okay.
is all I can say.
Go ahead.
This gets
Summarize
brutal.
Sabotage.
So in Sabotage, Anakin and Ahsoka are living it up on Cato Nemoidia. Well, they're not living it up, but
They're in a
they're
war. I
they're
would hardly describe
they're
that
in a
as living
war.
it up.
They're in a war on Cato Nemoidia. It is compared to the rest of this episode. It is
That
compared
is
to the
true.
rest of this episode. They're in a war on Cato Nemoidia. Typical Jedi heroics ensue. However, they are quickly recalled. They are recalled to the Jedi Temple because a bomb has gone off in the Jedi hangar, and the Jedi want Anakin and Ahsoka to lead the investigation since they suspect it could have been a Jedi, and Anakin and Ahsoka weren't there for the bombing. So they lead the investigation. They try to track down the guy who they think did it, and they arrest Letta Turmund as a suspect.
Absolutely. Our fortune cookie for this episode is sometimes even the smallest doubt can shake the greatest belief.
What did you think of this one? Because I thought it was interesting, but I thought there were several ways that it could possibly be interpreted.
Yeah, I like to think about, the idea that, again, this was one person who was turned into a bomb, and it set off and killed a few people. And yet, the entire Jedi Order almost got crumbled in a major way because of it.
It kind of sets off a chain reaction
Yeah.
of despair and intrigue.
The
And,
Jedi didn't need
people
an
not knowing what to do.
explosion in order to fall apart. The Jedi only needed a pebble to drop.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. My interpretation was kind of that I kind of thought about the general populace's lack of faith in the Jedi when something like this happens. But I actually kind of like your take better. I think it's a little bit less literal.
No, I actually think the populace, the general populace idea is actually a good one. It's interesting because this episode, this arc especially, explores the general public's view of the Jedi more than probably any piece of Star Wars content in canon has.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
it's one of those. It almost comes out of nowhere, and it makes me wish that we got it a little more set up, in previous Clone Wars arcs. But it's only because it gets set up so well here. But yeah. Should we get into the episode?
Yeah, let's get into it. So, to me, the Cato Nemoidia battle really sticks out, and even though it's kind of not the main meat of the episode, I just wanted to touch on it because I think I immediately compared it in my mind to the Battle of Ryloth and the blockade of Ryloth in season 1, where we're talking a lot about Ahsoka's abilities and Anakin trusting Ahsoka, and she kind of makes a bunch of big errors, and it costs the Republic a lot of lives. And I just really like how Anakin, in this, he's like, he says like Ahsoka take the lead, or he says Ahsoka punch a hole through the blockade. He's kind of giving her orders and trusting her to do things, and I think it really just shows. To me, that moment really just shows how much how much Ahsoka has grown, how locked in she is. And you get the sense that she's finally starting to come into her own, and Anakin really trusts her, which obviously just makes it all the more tragic what happens next. So yeah,
Yeah, it's one of those things. I actually compared it to the battle on Felucia, in the episode Holocron Heist. Remember the one where Ahsoka gets a little carried away in the middle of battle, and then she's assigned to desk duty, which is then how they catch Cad Bane. It's
yes,
one of those little setup things. You don't think it matters in the episode. It's a throwaway battle.
yeah,
But
it does. It
indeed,
ends up mattering. Yeah,
it ends up mattering a whole lot because I think one of the greatest tragedies of this arc is that Anakin and Ahsoka had such a great relationship together. They had
absolutely.
so much, and you have to show them having so much before you can show them losing it all.
Yeah,
And this is the having so much part of that episode.
yeah. It really is a shame. I think it really is a shame, this arc.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just so cool to see. And thinking back as we're getting to the end of the Clone Wars, it's so cool to see how far Ahsoka has come, and not just Ahsoka, but like how far Anakin has come, and his trust of her. And then over the course of the arc, we're gonna see that, like, he's gonna trust her, but he's also gonna kind of walk some of that back a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting,
I
and
think it's
I also
interesting.
think this might serve. I was thinking this might serve. The battle might serve a little bit as a hint to us of Ahsoka's innocence. We never believed. I never believed, and I don't think the arc is supposed to have you believe at any point that she's guilty.
Yeah,
However, just in case you're not sure, watch how she acts in the battle, and then tell me she's guilty. She shows such compassion, and shows such care for
yeah,
for Anakin that it doesn't logically make sense that
yeah. And the way
she could have.
she like still sticks her neck out
Oh
for
yeah.
Anakin.
Um.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's no doubt in my mind that the episode wants you to be like, oh, she's guilty, or sorry, no, no. The episode wants you to say, no, there's no way she's guilty. She's totally not guilty,
Yeah.
and that's definitely. I mean, yeah, that's what I thought. There was never any doubt in my mind. What about you?
Yeah. There was never. The art clearly wants you to think she's innocent, which she is. Um. But yeah, I think this is like the final nail in the coffin. That they're like, we're just gonna include this later because you think she's gonna do a lot of they're gonna say she does a lot of bad things, but we don't want you to believe that.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. By the way, classic Ahsoka line. Um, what happened, Snips? Fighter crashed. I saved the day. You're welcome.
yeah. Also, yeah, it was amazing.
Love that line. Love
Yeah,
that line. Such classic Ahsoka.
yeah, it was
Um,
hilarious. I love it.
so then they are calmed by Yoda and Mace Windu to say, "Hey, come back to Coruscant because there's been a bombing at the Jedi Temple."
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, go ahead.
I do want to ask you something.
Okay.
Ahsoka was off-world when the bombing happened.
Yes.
Why does that not completely exonerate her?
That's a good point because the whole time they're like, "Oh, Ahsoka did this. Ahsoka did this."
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that she couldn't have planned it and then went off-world, but like,
Okay, wait. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, let's think about this. Ahsoka, so they think that she did the bombing because
because Letta gets choked in the next
Letta
episode,
gets choked, and
and
it's
it looks like Ahsoka did it.
yeah. But and that's the first moment when they suspect Ahsoka
Yeah,
is when it's Letta. Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that kind of
I mean,
I think the
I'll
fact that
give.
it's not a good look.
Yeah,
I think I would even go so far as to say that it's kind of Tarkin's fault when he accuses her, whether it's intentional or not, because I honestly wouldn't put it past Tarkin to just say, you know what, I hate Ahsoka. Anakin's my political and a military rival kind of for Palpatine's favor, why not just like she's right there. She's apparently red-handed. Like, why not just try and put her away?
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't actually think that she's guilty. Or it could just be his bias, or him honestly, I don't know, just kind of him being clearly pretty overzealous. But in any case, that's what it is. So I think once you've arrived at that conclusion, like for Tarkin, you can kind of connect the other dots and see what you think is the case, or see what you want to see to make Ahsoka guilty. Either way, that's kind of what I would say.
Yeah. It's just a weird little plot hole in this episode that's like nobody considered the fact that she wasn't on the planet when it happened.
Yeah.
Which seems odd.
I mean, they're probably just like, oh, but they're probably just thinking, oh, she orchestrated it,
Yeah.
Like, I would guess that's the rationale, whether or not it's correct. I mean, clearly it's not, but
yeah,
clearly that's another story entirely.
Here's another question for you. So Mace Windu says that he wants Anakin and Ahsoka to do the investigation into who did this because they'll be an impartial. They'll have impartial opinions.
Yeah, but
how will they have impartial opinions exactly?
Yeah, that was gonna be my question as well.
Like they were off-world. They're still Jedi.
Yeah.
Some of their friends, some of their allies got attacked. I don't think Mace Windu knows what the word impartial means.
No, yeah. That's definitely... I know I love to harp on this, but that's definitely an example of the Jedi falling. The arrogance of saying, oh, it'll be impartial. We'll just get some Jedi from off-world. We can keep this internal. Like, we don't have to call up any of our numerous friends in good standing in the Senate. Like, totally we don't have to get Padme or Bail Organa or any of the other, like...
Do not get Padme. Yeah. Here's why you don't get Padme. We'll get to this later. Padme doesn't provide a good case for herself.
Yeah, that's true. Like, there are so many, like, competent... There are so many competent, like, good people and characters that they could have turned to. But instead they're like, nah, we're just gonna keep it internal.
Though knowing Palpatine, what he would have done is if he found out about this earlier, Palpatine would be like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. High IQ plan, guys. We're gonna send in Tandivo, and he's gonna do this for us.
Yeah. Well, is he the grouchy guy from what arc is he from? What arc is he from?
He's from a bunch of different ones, but the one he got introduced in was the Senate Murders episode.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
You stick to the... I'll stick to the investigating, you'll stick to the senating.
Yeah. I mean, look, if Palpatine really wanted to be smart about this, he could just put Tarkin... Just put Tarkin on the case from the very start.
Yeah, and cut to the chase. Don't cut the middleman out of this.
Yeah, no, Tarkin wouldn't even need any investigating. You just be like, yeah, Ahsoka's guilty. You know what? Yeah. Obi-Wan's guilty too. I think Mace Windu and Yoda are guilty too. Also, I think the Jedi Order should be immediately dissolved. That is the only way to solve this case.
And frankly, if Tarkin dies, who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Tarkin makes a really bad impression in this arc, I gotta say.
Oh, 100%.
But yeah, but here's another question for you, and I'm not sure about how this would work. Was there no Jedi like, oh, we need to find out who committed a murder. A shame we don't have a mystical energy force on our side working for us.
Yeah.
Can they not investigate using the Force? I'm not saying they can reach into the Force and find out who did it. I'm saying, can they not use the Force to sense others' intentions? Can they not use the Force to detect when people are lying?
Yeah, I don't know.
You'd think they could solve this better with the mystical energy field that they have access to.
Yeah. Apparently not, though.
Because they don't.
I mean, we know that some Jedi, gosh, I can't remember what the power is called now. It's the power that's used in the episode where they're hunting down um Zero the Hutt. It's
Psychometry.
yeah, psychometry. Like, why don't they have a Jedi like that? That's kind of what I was thinking. Why don't they have a Jedi with psychometry
Yeah,
arms?
that's what they do.
They
They
could really
they
use some
they put
psychometry.
Quinlan Voss in charge of the
Yeah.
case.
I mean, at this point, at least in Legends, doesn't he like
What's Quinlan
kind of
Voss
run
doing?
off and
Actually, I think I know what he's doing. He's trying
he's
to
like
kill Count Dooku at this moment. No, actually, I don't think that's until
he's like
later.
ran
Never
off and
mind.
kind of joined the dark side. It's
Yeah.
unclear.
I don't know what
It's very
Quinlan
unclear.
Voss is doing, but, like, they could have had Quinlan Voss on the case, okay? I'm sure he was off-world. I mean, when did we ever see him? Other than that
Yeah,
one episode. Answer, never.
true. Very true.
Yeah.
They just
Uh, yeah.
just
But
disappears.
anyway, I guess they're doing that, and then so they, Anakin and Ahsoka investigate this, bombing with the Russo droid, um, who states this very, very, very interesting quote. I gotta say, I love this quote. Fear makes even the most trusting individual irrational.
That
I'm
honestly
like,
might be in my opinion, that honestly might be a better fortune cookie than the actual fortune cookie for the episode. I thought that was a
my
banger
first note
quote.
as of hearing that quote was, I mean, that's a fortune cookie and a half right there.
Yeah, and it is.
Yeah, I mean
It absolutely is.
that's a pretty good one. Like, fear can make people do pretty crazy things if they're pushed hard enough.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, what do you think? Do you have any stuff for the first part of this episode?
Let's see. I mean, it's a pretty great it's a pretty great episode. I really like the part when they're walking around inside inside quote unquote the explosion
Yeah.
with the hologram. That's just such a cool scene. But I mean, in many ways, it is hard to look past kind of the glaring arrogance of the Jedi for a lot of this. Like, when Anakin he's talking to Letta Turman, maybe this is later, I can't remember, but he says like, "You tried to blame this on the Jedi." It's like, oh gosh, yeah, so much worse than just randomly blaming it on any other innocent person, but blaming it on a Jedi, then now you've gone too far. Like it was things like that for me. It's things like that where this episode kind of it makes a point. It makes a point of showing the severe shortcomings of the Jedi, obviously in preparation for the big reveal, which happens in the Wrong Jedi.
When Anakin talks to Letta when he's investigating Jakar Bomani's house, um, uh, uh, Letta says, "Not anyone, not just anyone, can walk into that temple of yours," which starts to tie into a theme that's been getting a lot of attention in this arc, which is the Jedi and elitism. One of the biggest
Yeah.
problems with the Jedi is that they think they're so good. They think they're
Mhm.
so high
Yeah.
and mighty. And they're just kind of, it's just kind of like happening. And yeah, the Jedi have slowly but surely been evolving to work for the elite rather than the people they should be serving, who are the ones who are less fortunate.
Yeah.
I read my notes. They think having the Force makes them greater instead of that it makes them responsible. And again, a lot of this ties into Barris's speech in that final episode, where she kind of just lets it all out and basically delivers the thesis statement for the Jedi of the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also, by the way, noticed when they're chasing Letta Turman, when she runs away, Anakin tells Ahsoka to take the high road. Even now, Anakin's avoiding the high ground. Mace Windu says about Letta, "I think we can guess her motives easily enough. Public opinion is swaying against the Jedi. That is becoming clear."
Oh, it's just becoming clear now, eh?
No, I'm
That's
like,
what I
and you're
thought.
just gonna sit there? You're just gonna
Yeah.
say, oh well, whatever. And also, by the way, they're not paying her husband well.
Yeah,
Maybe,
no.
maybe it's not because you're not. Maybe it's not because public opinion is fading. Maybe it's because you're playing her husband jack shit, and she like. I'm not saying murder is a good response to that. I'm saying maybe you should be paying your employees better.
Yeah, I think definitely that the way it kind of comes out that maybe the Jedi employees maybe working at the Jedi Temple isn't so great. Maybe the Jedi don't maybe the employees don't get a lot of great treatment. And it's interesting that Ahsoka just finds that out. Like that is where the fact that Ahsoka is just finding that out, that's where you say, okay, maybe
Yeah,
the Jedi, maybe they have a bit of an ivory tower situation on their hands,
yeah,
maybe that's what the Jedi Temple has become. And the fact that it's on the surface, um, it's this super giant fancy building, the massive steps, the columns, is this beautiful place, and then the Jedi are constantly kind of going down into the underworld and roughing people up who have nothing. Yeah,
yeah.
it's interesting how the Clone Wars really makes the Jedi it really makes the Jedi it makes them out sorry it really puts the Jedi in a different light and what they symbolize. We really see some of the dark side of that in this episode.
Literally, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I have one final line from this episode. Anakin tells Ahsoka at the end of the episode, there are going to be Jedi who disappoint us, Ahsoka. But as long as we know that there are good Jedi who fight for what's right, it makes it all worthwhile. Which I realize is probably foreshadowing.
Yeah,
But,
probably,
yeah.
just maybe.
Yeah, so it's an interesting way to end off the episode. It's one of those things where the ending feels like it should be right, but we know it's just beginning.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I think that it's a bit of I are you ready to get to the ending or
you can just like
yeah? I think the
rip off.
ending I thought that I to me it felt a little bit like oh come on man moment for the Jedi that they especially Brannigan and Sugga they kind of let it come to a close that easily when I think really clearly they should have been I thought that they clearly should have and could have been digging deeper, I think. I know
How
what do you
so?
think? Um it just struck me as a bit weird the way they were so willing to just say, well, that's that, even though for all their investigative, not necessarily investigative, but for all their powers of perception, for all their force intuition, um, they didn't really follow the trail because they were never going to catch Ventress if Ahsoka had not been framed.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's definitely a tricky situation for the Jedi. I mean, they don't do a good job with it, but it's definitely like, you know. Anyway, uh, do you have anything else for this episode?
So I did find some fun trivia. Thank you to StarWars.com and the rewatch guides. The four episodes in this arc are all actually named after Alfred Hitchcock movies: Sabotage, The Man Who Knew Too Much, To Catch a Thief, and The Wrong Man. Pretty self-explanatory.
I didn't know the first one was
They replaced
actually.
man with Jedi.
Yeah, I thought they actually. I didn't know actually I didn't actually know that the first one was an Alfred Hitchcock movie. I knew the last three were, but yeah, I didn't know the first one was. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the gunship that Rex rides on Cato Nemoidia is the Lucky Leku gunship, which is also seen in the Clone Wars movie. You can tell because it has the Twi'lek nose livery.
And the clothes where it's
Sadly
on.
enough, Pardon?
And the Plos Bros on it.
Yeah, and the Plos Bros. Now, sadly enough, very sadly enough, you know what else happens in the Clone Wars movie?
What?
Anakin says to Ahsoka, "You'd have never made it at as Obi-Wan's Padawan, but you just might make it as mine." We've come full
Pain.
circle. We're coming full circle in the most painful way possible.
Pain.
Oh my God.
Pain.
I don't know if they thought, I don't know if that was on their mind.
Yeah.
But in many ways, this really is kind of, I mean, obviously for the Clone Wars, this is bringing Ahsoka's story to a close.
Yeah.
But I really think that's emphasized that this is really Ahsoka's story,
Yeah.
or at least they want to emphasize the side of this that is Ahsoka's story by bringing it back to the moment when she was introduced to Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah. So what did you think of this episode?
Man, I liked it. It's a very good lead-in episode. It's kind of the typical Clone Wars lead-in episode to a really big a big quadrilogy or a big trilogy where a lot of the first episode often is misdirection. Cato Nemoidia. That's just misdirection for what the episode's actually going to be about.
Misdirection.
You think it's going to be about this one thing, and then boom, something else happens.
It's Same almost like that time we spent on Cato Nemoidia didn't count.
Like this reminds me of the D Squad arc. Like it's setting up to be one thing, but then the meat of one episode is actually just all set up for this bigger story. That's what this kind of felt like.
Yeah, it's a good setup. It's probably my least favorite in this arc, just because the other three are incredible in so many ways. But no, it's definitely a good one. Can't complain. Like I said, so we're gonna get to the Jedi who knew too much.
Yes, the Jedi who knew too much. So we open with a hauntingly beautifully scored funeral scene where the victims of the attack are being laid to rest. However, the momentary respite from the political intrigue is not long, because who shows up but Grand Moff Tarkin?
Admiral Tarkin.
No, he's not a Grand Moff. Sorry, yes,
Grand
Admiral
Moffs
Tarkin.
Don't exist yet.
Grand Moffs don't exist yet. Admiral Tarkin. He's probably thinking, man, I can't wait to be a Grand Moff. I can't wait for the Jedi to be over.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, sidetrack, but I strongly suspect that Tarkin somehow is in on Order 66. With the way that he is behaving and some of the things that he says, I have a hard time.
Interesting theory.
That is my headcanon. I have a hard time believing that he is oblivious to Order 66. He literally says, like, Palpatine, like, trust me, Palpatine rarely does anything without a strategy. Like,
yeah,
come on.
That was like that was like a okay, Clone Wars. We get it. Palpatine has backup plans for backup plans. We already knew this. Okay.
Yeah, we get it.
He had a backup plan to avoid dying. Okay, he has a backup plan for everything.
He does. He's the man with the plan. Letta Termund requests to see Ahsoka. Surprisingly, and Ahsoka is framed for Letta Termund's murder. So she, because it looks like she is force choking her, so she goes on the run, and eventually the clones catch her again.
Yep, she's imprisoned.
No, she is imprisoned. She escapes. She goes on the run, and she gets caught.
Actually, no, she does.
No, she doesn't.
She doesn't get.
No,
caught.
I'm conflating.
She jumps from the fight. She jumps from the pipe.
Oh, that's where this one ends. I thought that was the next one. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, these two blend together a little bit.
Yeah, they blend together. This probably could have been a movie.
And that's not because they're bad. It's just because they're so cohesive.
Yeah. I think some of the best Clone Wars episodes are the ones that blend together. Personally,
Fortune cookie is courage begins by trusting oneself. Thanks for using gender-neutral pronouns, Clone Wars. We really appreciate it.
They're ahead of their time.
Yeah. It's only Ahsoka's belief and knowledge that she is not guilty that gets to that gets her to fight another day. It's
Yeah,
only
absolutely.
it's only through her knowing that she is not guilty that she makes it through.
Yeah, I mean, this it's a tough situation for Ahsoka, and clearly she is very courageous, even if I think some of the courage that she demonstrates feels a little bit, I don't know, maybe a little bit misplaced or misguided. The fact that she believes in herself, but she believes in herself so much so that she, by doing what she does, she never gives anyone else a chance to believe in her
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
she's just going on the run. And whether or not she, and it's sad because she tries to do the right thing, but every time she tries to do the right thing, she just plays into Varys's plan, and gets framed further. But I mean, there is also the argument to be made that like Tarkin's kind of running the whole Tarkin will be running the whole criminal proceedings for Ahsoka, and with the amount of kind of mistrust of the Jedi, there is no way, no matter the evidence, that they would let Ahsoka walk free. So I feel like you could say also that she did do the right thing, when faced with a potentially corrupt system that would not have really given her a fair shake.
Yeah, it's a crazy it's a nuts episode. I would like to bring up something. So Jacob, have you seen the movie The Fugitive?
I have not.
So first of all, you should see it. It's very good.
Okay.
It stars former Star Wars cast member Harrison Ford. It's a Harrison Ford movie, and it is a plot pretty much identical to this episode. Basically, the plot is a doctor is accused of killing his wife, even though he didn't.
Mm.
Um, and there's a very famous scene where it's Harrison Ford and the police officer is trying to catch him. He runs away from jail, and they stand in a pipe. And Harrison Ford delivers the famous line, "I didn't kill my wife." And Tommy Lee
Yeah.
Jones goes, "I don't care." And then Harrison Ford, just like Ahsoka, jumps out of the pipe. But in his case, it's over a waterfall. In Ahsoka's case, it's into oncoming Coruscant traffic, but they will survive. And it turns out in both cases, it was the best friend who arranged for the accused murders.
Yeah, and that's a good point that you bring up, is that this episode especially, this pays homage to, I think, owes itself to a long lineage, a long tradition of movies and other TV shows as well, and stories of all types about people going on the run, to try and prove their innocence, either successfully or unsuccessfully. And I don't know. Ultimately, I'd say Ahsoka has mixed success because obviously the outcome is not great for her, but she does technically prove her innocence with Anakin's help.
Oh, she absolutely does, yeah.
But in the end, she has to leave anyone. It's still I would say a bit of a sad moment, for her.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you think?
No, it's a it's a common trope. The Fugitive is just one example, but since the pipeline things lined up, I just thought I'd mention it because, and I really do like that
Oh
movie.
yeah,
It's a
of course.
really great one. Um, uh,
So fun.
it's a great movie. But should we get into this?
Yeah, let's get into it. So I mean, do you want to talk about the funeral scene at all? Because first off, I just want to say for the funeral scene, hats off to Kevin Kiner, hats off to the Clone Wars. For whatever reason, they never miss on the music for any kind of death or funeral scene, whether it's Obi-Wan's fake
They don't.
funeral. I'm thinking of also Evan Piel's impromptu funeral on Lola Sayu. Like the music for the deaths and the funerals of the Clone Wars, they leave it all on the floor for the music.
Do you know what's even
They just
crazy?
Kevin Kiner goes off. I'm gonna be honest. This
Kevin
music
Kiner
is
goes
just
off. You
incredible.
know what's crazy?
What?
It's not even the most memorable score for me in this arc. That's how
What do you
good
think?
the music is.
Yeah. Is it what Ahsoka leaving? Is that I feel
Ahsoka
like that's
leaves
what I would
is
say.
just,
Yeah.
it's perfect.
Yeah,
It
it is perfect.
It's perfect. It just
It's such a fun.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it when we get to it. But it just works. It's one of those.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that just works. Speaking of music, I want to proceed a little bit into the episode. But I'll say this: did you notice hearing the Imperial March throughout this arc?
No, I actually did not.
There's songs
Actually,
that
no,
I just hear I'm watching the episode and suddenly I hear in the background dun 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 dun. I'm like, wait, that's the Imperial March. And also, I'm not sure if you noticed this one. Did you notice how like the prison cell that Ahsoka's kept in looks remarkably like the prison cell that Leia's kept in New Hope?
Oh yeah. Oh, ton of there's a ton of deliberate references. I think this arc, especially in this episode, with all the military and prison settings that we see. This is really one of those episodes where the Clone Wars is making a point
Yeah.
with
This
how
doesn't
it
look like the
blends.
Republic. This looks like the Empire, frankly.
Yes, they really. Yeah, I think they really. You're absolutely right. They really make a point of kind of blending the Republic and the Imperial styles and imagery to obviously
Yeah.
make their point. Say, hey, times they are changing.
Yeah, no,
and that's something that I really like.
no, seriously, and I'm like, wait, this is an Imperial trial. Like, this is like,
Yeah.
this feels completely Imperial, and it's one of those things where, we're getting into the period that's defined by Revenge of the Sith, and we need those dark undertones. And we get them.
Absolutely.
And we get them. Can we get into Tarkin?
Yes.
So
Let's
Tarkin
get into
enters
Tarkin.
this arc for reasons, I guess.
Mhm.
I don't know why Tarkin's now just in charge of legal stuff.
And he's
admiral
just
in the
walking
Navy.
around the Jedi Temple.
Yeah, I don't understand why he's in charge now, but whatever.
Yeah.
By the way, one of my favorite Tarkin quotes this episode. The Chancellor feels very strongly the Jedi be removed from as many military matters as possible.
It's ironic. It's ironic how
Who put them there, Tarkin?
yeah.
Connect some dots. Who put them there?
That is a good point. That being said, the name of Palpatine's game is to simultaneously make the Jedi take on as many new, unfamiliar, bad, like risky responsibilities, typically combat, that he can, and simultaneously take away their power and make them as subordinate to the Republic as possible.
Oh, absolutely. I'm under no illusions of what Palpatine's trying to do here. Palpatine is putting the Jedi into a military role and then shaming the crap out of them for doing it.
Yeah, no, it's hilarious. It's
devious.
totally hilarious and
It's
it's totally
ingenious,
intentional.
frankly.
It is ingenious.
It works. Also, the quote you quoted earlier is from here. I assure you that he rarely does anything without a strategy. I
Yes.
wrote down, we know Wilhuff. We've watched Star Wars.
Yeah.
We've seen these movies. I also love this line too, which I love that it was used. I hate it was used by Tarkin. You yourselves said you are peacekeepers, not soldiers. And I wrote back, and it was Palpatine himself who said, "Screw that, Grand Army of the Republic, motherfuckers. So you have no legs to stand on here, Will Huff."
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't care. He clearly just,
Yeah.
yeah. I
He
mean,
wants to take them down a peg a little too much.
He wants what he wants.
Yeah.
He is clearly just out to get the Jedi.
Yeah.
You know, he's out to he's out to kind of knock down on Anakin, especially.
Yeah.
Because Anakin is he sees Anakin as a rival, because obviously also in the Lola Sayu arc, they're clearly both vying for Palpatine's favor.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And by the way, in the briefing that gets interrupted by Tarkin with Termund and all that kind of stuff. Did you notice where the battle was taking place?
I did not.
It was the Inuit sector.
Oh.
That's where Hoth and
Empire Strikes
Bespin
Back.
are.
The references are coming thick and fast.
Yeah.
They really are.
Also, by the way, do you realize this made me realize we've never gotten to see an animated Hoth?
Yeah. Too bad. It would have been
We've
cool,
never seen an animated Wampa. Like,
that
how am I just realizing
could be
that?
a terrifying sight, but it also could be very cool.
I want an animated Wampa badly now.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Maybe I do too.
Yeah, I got weirdly shaken by the revelation that we did never visit an animated Hoth, it's weird. Yeah.
I think it's kind of sad that obviously Ahsoka has to trust herself, because Anakin seems to trust, at least not necessarily trust him as a person, but Anakin at least seems to trust Palpatine's judgment. Or sorry, not Palpatine. Anakin seems to trust Tarkin's judgment more than he trusts Ahsoka's judgment or instincts. I mean, say what you want about that, but that's definitely sad for Ahsoka, and it definitely plays into the fortune cookie and the idea of this episode that Ahsoka has to just rely on herself. Only you kind of have more trust in herself, even if she's pushed to that by being kind of let down by the people around her.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Should we get into Ahsoka meeting with Letta?
Yes, absolutely. Do you wanna lead us off for this one? What do you got?
I got Letta. Here's a quote from Letta. "There were some citizens of the Republic, like myself, who believe the Jedi Order is not what it used to be. The Jedi have become warmongers. They've become military weapons, and they're killing when they should be keeping the peace."
I mean, even if I don't agree with what she does, and I think how she says it, I mean, she is not wrong.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's weird because I agree with nothing that Barriss Offee or Letta Terman does in this arc, but I agree with everything that they say.
Yeah, I think the thing is, for characters like Barriss and Letta Termund, who do not have the benefit of, you know, the story kind of pointing things out for us. They just see, what are the Jedi doing? What the hell? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Or why are the Jedi doing this? Like, they're just being a-holes. I don't think they really have the benefit like we do of the story saying, oh, this is part of Palpatine's grand plan to kind of
how would they have
Jedi,
that luxury? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's the big difference. That's why so many characters just have animosity to the Jedi, you know?
Yeah. So, do we want to get into Ahsoka getting implicated for the crime?
Yeah, let's get into it.
One of the things I like is when she's captured. When Tarkin grabs her chin. Uh, when he's interrogating her. It's a direct nod to Leia
It is,
in New
yes.
Hope. It's also probably harassment, but like who? But Tarkin doesn't care. I know he doesn't care. Um, because
I
he's
mean,
just
I
a
mean,
yeah.
yeah. For Tarkin, I think it's yeah. He just is like exerting his trying
Authority.
to exert his authority,
Yeah,
exert his power, intimidate. This is what he's all about. This is
yeah,
really what he's all about.
yeah. No, absolutely. And um, then so Barris plants a key card and an Ahsoka of lightsabers. This is very interesting because Ahsoka gets found at every single scene of Barris's crime, which I think is
Yeah.
funny. It,
Clearly she's being expertly framed
oh
by
yeah,
Barris.
Barris is doing a great job. Frankly,
Yeah.
Barris's plan is working out brilliantly.
One thing though, if we want to talk about Barris's plan, I forgot to mention this earlier. When Anakin goes into the room where Letta Termund is, when they originally take her in, who's walking right past behind him?
Yeah, that's
Barris.
Barris.
I
I saw
never
that
noticed
too.
that until this time. I never
I saw
noticed
that
that
too.
until I was watching it today. And I was
Yeah.
like, holy crap.
I'm like, why would she
Holy
just be
moly.
randomly walking?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah. Oh.
yeah. It's one of those things that I'm sure was intentional there, but they're like, you know what? We're gonna just we're gonna
Yeah.
find we're gonna find a way to put her in there. Just do that anyway. What else was I gonna talk about? Yeah. This whole thing feels very Agatha Christie esque. I gotta say. Um,
Yeah.
uh,
Or how so?
just the very like murder mystery planting of things, uh, sort of the as you would say, peeling back the layers of the
Yes,
mystery.
peeling back the layers.
Um,
I wasn't gonna say it because I've said it so much. But come on, this does a great job of peeling back the layers, as I love to say, as I love to gush about, peeling back the layers. Yes.
yeah. One of the things I will say about this is this is funny when they're trying to chase Ahsoka. Uh, so the Republic are the bad guys in this arc.
Yeah.
Think
I
about that.
they're not I mean, to be fair,
They're not bad, but they're the
they're trying to do
antagonists.
yeah. They are the antagonists from the standpoint of they're forcing change in the protagonist.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah. It is interesting how this is where we really see the dark side of the Republic, and not even just in terms of an ooh they're like it's the Empire situation, like they're turning into the Empire, but no, this really is just the dark side of the Republic, and this is why maybe the Republic doesn't work for a lot of the average citizens because they really are focused on. It almost feels as if they're focused more on putting someone away, and if that person is Ahsoka, then it's Ahsoka for the crime, rather than actually getting to the bottom of it. And it just the way that they treat Ahsoka, even someone like if they treat Ahsoka, even someone who's relatively important and is in amazing standing, up till now is in amazing standing. Um, Obviously, everyone needs to be treated equally. When under suspicion. But though if they treat Ahsoka like that, if Tarkin treats Ahsoka like that, if the clones, the justice system, if it works out for Ahsoka like it does, how do you think it works out for an average Joe in the Republic?
For an actual criminal.
Yeah. Or like I'm just saying like in a general sense, like how do you think it works for someone who is trying to I don't know, exist in the Republic? How do you think it works for someone who's trying to get help from the government for any number
Yeah.
things. I don't know, file some kind of complaint, get
File a
help,
civil
get
suit,
police
sort of.
protection,
Yeah.
yeah, like against abuses of power. Like, how do you think it works out for them? Or how do you think it works out for someone even who's falsely accused of a crime?
Yep.
Or someone who the police just decide, because clearly they're really interested also. And I thought that the story was hinting at the idea, it's a little bit like I said, like hinting at the idea of kind of wanting to be able to say, oh, we caught the person, this is like this is who it was, rather than also rather than really trying to figure out who it actually was. Like trying to put some, they were like, if we can't find the right person, we're gonna put someone away, even if it's not the right person, or we're gonna
Yeah.
put someone away.
No, absolutely. I can definitely see that. I gotta say, there. Do you want to get to the pipeline?
Yeah, let's I mean, there's a little bit more plot before then, right? That we could,
Yeah, there's this whole chase in the rain, which I thought is
yeah.
dramatic.
There's
Did you
the rain
notice they
chase. The chase scenes are amazing, I think.
the chase scenes are vivid? Did you notice, by the way,
Yeah,
they use mastiffs as hunting dogs, which are the same things the
yeah.
Tusken Raiders use? Um,
I think symbolically, the hunting dogs are a really great touch, just in terms of what they represent in Ahsoka. Just like as a fugitive, it really kind of, to me, it really said like, okay, there's no mercy now.
yeah, there is
Like
this.
there is no doubt now for the Republic that they're gonna try and take Ahsoka. Like they no longer are questioning,
There
is she
is this
guilty?
great sense in this arc to like remember when they unleashed the Anuba Hounds in the Citadel arc.
Yeah,
That was what I called back then, literally the dogs of war.
yeah. Or it kind of feels like
And it was like,
it's
of
an oh
course, yeah,
yeah,
it
it's an
kind of,
oh shit moment,
yeah, it's kind of like of course the Separatists have dogs. Like this is the harsh reality of war. What you wouldn't expect is for the Republic to also have those. So it kind of flips the dogs of war idea on its head a little bit and gives it some new dimension.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Um and then we have this incredible the last line of the episode is one of the best lines from this arc. Um Anakin, you have to trust me now.
Yeah.
And by the way, here's a funny thing, okay? So Anakin has to trust Anakin. Anakin has to what's the expression to describe putting trust in somebody? What about take a leap of faith?
Yeah.
And then Ahsoka
Leap of faith.
literally takes a leap of faith.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I gotta say,
And
that's pretty good.
it's sad that Anakin ultimately, what would you argue? What is Anakin's answer to Ahsoka's plea of you have to trust me? Do you think that in his actions, because I was not sure what to conclude, is he trusting her or is he not?
I think he is. Here's the thing about Anakin. I think often that he wants to do anything he can to help, but he doesn't exactly know how to do it a lot of the
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. Like I think from his perspective, like on an intellectual level, he's like, yeah, of course I trust. Like he's like, yeah, of course I trust Ahsoka. Like I trust her implicitly. She's my Padawan. Like she saved my life constantly. Like clearly he does. But I think then maybe you're right that on a more immediate level, it's the same problem that we always see with Anakin, where he wants to do the right thing, but he doesn't necessarily have the emotional strength to have the right thing not be like his way. Like even though he
Yeah.
wants to do the right thing, it still ends up being for a lot of things my way or the highway.
Yeah. I
But I don't
get.
know if that's the case here. Like I don't know whose way is it in the end.
Yeah,
Like
it's
to
one
me,
of
it's
those.
not clear whose
It's
way it
one of
is.
those things where Anakin has a hard time with the fact that, frankly, there's not a lot he can do in this situation.
Yeah,
And
there's not. That's
he
true.
tries to constantly act, but I don't think it works out a lot for him.
Yeah.
The pipeline scene, by the way, does immediately echo the fugitive scene, the I didn't kill my wife scene. You
Yeah.
got some trivia for
100%.
this episode, or do you got anything else?
I don't not too much more to say about this episode. I think that Ahsoka, it kind of goes back to the question of, is it better to go on the run to prove your innocence ultimately, even if in the short term, or even if there's a very good possibility that you won't be able to pull off what you're hoping to pull off,
Yeah.
and kind of dig your hole deeper and commit actual crimes, or do you turn yourself in, turn yourself over, and hope that the system like works out for you, but with the knowledge that it probably won't. Like watching this episode, it was for me. It was easy for me to be like Ahsoka had a lot of like face palm dough moments where you're like, oh no, God, don't do that. Kind of like a don't open the basement, or like don't go in the basement in like a horror movie.
Yeah.
Like don't check the basement. And yet she kind of it kind of feels like she's in like a lose-lose situation. What do you think? Do you think
Yeah.
that there was a better path for her?
I'm. I'm not sure. I think we'll get to this next episode, but there are some things that happen next episode that I think could have been like Ahsoka could have done better, could have articulated better. Again, she wasn't expecting it. And she's been put a lot on her toes. So I understand her responses. I don't think any of her responses are unreasonable. But there's things I would have done differently, I think. But again, I wasn't there. She was. Um,
Yeah.
do you have trivia?
Yes, some trivia. In the security cameras for the prison, we can see that Wat Tabor, Poggle the Lesser, and Worm Loathsome are also being held in this prison. So they've got all the separatist high rollers
Oh,
in
absolutely,
that
yeah.
joint. And as you already mentioned, Tarkin's grab on Ahsoka's chin. It's a deliberate reference to him talking to Leia on the Death Star. And yeah, this episode is just, especially in the architecture of this prison. This episode is just absolutely chock full of references to the Empire, and kind of nod, wink, wink, hinting where this is going to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have
Yeah.
anything else? Any trivia? Any takeaways from this episode?
Most of my stuff again is from for the next few episodes, but again, very solid episode. Um, the pipeline scene is one of my favorite scenes from this arc. It just works so well on one of those, like on a chemical level with Anakin and Ahsoka. You get to like really break them both down and see the impacts and how they get to be who they are, and how their relationship has grown, and how it's mutated and how it's changed, and blah blah blah.
Absolutely.
And I think it's great. Shall we get on?
Yeah.
In
Let's move on.
To catch a Jedi, um, Ahsoka wanders down through the underworld of Coruscant when she runs into Asajj Ventress. Ventress tries to capture Ahsoka because she's now a bounty hunter and turn her into the Republic for a large bounty. But they end up working together in order to find out order to further figure out the plot against Ahsoka. Ahsoka gets in contact with Barriss Offee, who sends her to level 1315, which is eerily close to level 1313, which is that video game, and also the Marquez sisters' den, is what I meant. And then Ahsoka gets captured by the Republic with nano droids on her hands after a lengthy fight with who she assumes is Asajj Ventress, but is actually Barriss Offee. And eventually they capture, the clones capture Ahsoka and take her away imprisoned. Fortune Cookie is never become desperate enough to trust the untrustworthy.
What do you think about this fortune cookie? Because I was a little bit perplexed by this one because I thought that Asajj Ventress was one of the few people in this entire arc who admittedly in her own weird kind of messed up ways, she really does like demonstrate pretty solid trustworthiness. Like she's pretty solid in this arc.
So is this fortune cookie about Ventress, I ask you?
I mean, that was my original thought, but who else?
It was mine too. And now I'm realizing maybe it isn't. What if it's Tarkin?
I mean,
what if it's Barriss?
Yeah, what if it goes back further? What if the act of entrusting, even though that it's not necessarily one thing, what if that doesn't exactly happen here? That is a good point. It could be Tarkin. Maybe this is talking about Anakin and Tarkin. I don't know. That's a stretch, but it works.
Yeah.
Anakin. Yeah.
And yeah, it's one of those things where it's like I originally thought of it with Ventress, and it still could be Ventress, but it doesn't have to be. I also like the grounded reality of this fortune cookie. Usually we get a lot of words of wisdom, you know what I mean? This is just live free, partner. Don't join. As DJ would say. This also, by the way, reminds me of a certain Hondo Onaka. This I feel like applies to him a lot because it's always a bad sign when Hondo comes into an episode. Something's about to happen, and it's probably not going to be good for anybody.
So I mean, Anakin chatting with the council. I think we need to start there. I found it very interesting. Yeah, I thought honestly, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I thought it was strange to see Obi-Wan siding with Anakin and saying like he should be on the case. But I think there's an argument to be made for both sides.
Yeah, I
think
he
should or shouldn't.
Here's the thing. We start seeing in this episode, I think, what I call the politics of the Jedi Council.
Yeah.
And
100%.
The Jedi Council seems, at least in my opinion, like the United States Supreme Court often does. Where certain members, certain jurors, sorry, did I say jurors? I meant council members. Have their certain opinions which may swing the council's opinions a certain way.
Yeah.
And like, for example, I think there are the traditionalists and I think there are the reformers, we could say. And I think that I don't think it has much to do with Obi-Wan's relationship with Anakin, but I think Obi-Wan is one of those reformers.
Yeah, possibly.
And I think we can see this entire arc is a huge victory lap for the traditionalists.
Yeah, 100%.
And
100%.
And Obi-Wan, I think, is like I feel like the reformers constantly need to be on their toes because they know that they might not be on the winning side all the time.
Yeah.
Or the majority of the time. So I think Obi-Wan's just kind of in a state of readiness to defend anybody that he needs to, I think. And again, so let's establish something. So Mace is obviously is the leader of the traditionalists.
Yeah.
I'd say Kiadi is also traditionalist.
Kiadi is a traditionalist, yeah.
I would also say, based on evidence we have, that Saisi Teen is a traditionalist.
Yeah. The Jedi Council obviously skews incredibly traditionalist.
Yeah.
The fact that Obi-Wan is the closest... I'd say Obi-Wan kind of flips... I'd say Obi-Wan kind of flips back and forth. Like, he's a little... I would argue that he's a little bit of both.
I would say that
I think in this case
a reformer that he has the respect of the traditionalists.
Yeah.
Plo Koon's also a reformer, by the way.
Yeah, Plo Koon, definitely.
And then there's the big one that I haven't mentioned so far. What do you think about him?
Kit Fisto?
Based on no evidence, I said Kit Fisto was a reformer. But I'm actually thinking about somebody a little bit bigger on the council who I didn't mention. Or should I say, smaller?
Yoda?
Yeah, I'm thinking about him. It's weird because he does not play his hand very heavy here.
Yeah.
Because what do you think? I have my own thoughts about this. But where do you think Yoda stands?
That is a good question. I think he may be a true kind of moderate. Like Obi-Wan, a little bit of a flip-flop.
Yeah.
But also a little bit on the traditionalist side. I know he just has that sense about him. And, you know, from seeing what he says, where he will, like, even though he'll be the one to be like, no, this is the way we have to do it, he'll also be the one, Yoda will also be the one to say, oh, no, let's hear what Qui-Gon has to say. You know, Master Qui-Gon, more to say, have you?
Yeah. Based on very little actual thing about...
This is all based on, I feel like all of this is based on a lot heavy speculation and inference
Yoda
based on little things.
Like Mace is obvious. Mace is obvious.
Mace is obvious.
Mundi is obvious. Plo is also obvious. Yoda, for me, and this is maybe a little biased on my part, I think Yoda is actually a reformer, but I think he wants to make it clear to the council. I don't think he wants to be a moderate. I think he wants to act like a moderate.
What do you mean?
I don't think he wants to give the appearance of bias. I think he wants to try and be as respectful of both sides as he possibly can, is what I think of Yoda. But I think he ultimately is a reformer based on a bunch of just circumstantial things. Number one, here's my biggest thing. In The Wrong Jedi, Yoda says, reached a decision we have, though in agreement not all of us are.
Yeah.
Why would he mention that not all of them are in agreement? If he was like, you know, if he was a traditionalist, why would he mention that they weren't all in agreement? It doesn't make a lot of sense.
I think he wants to hedge your I think he wants to hedge his bets. I think he kind of wants to not even hedge his bets, but he just wants to make sure that everyone is. He has to get in there and run the Jedi Council. He wants to make sure everyone is feeling good, feeling heard, and also it's just whether he agrees or not. It's important. It's like an important, like I would say that's an important thing to say in this system where you can come to a result, apparently, without a unanimous jury, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Again, I don't have a lot of evidence for anything, but based on, especially what really clues me into Yoda being a reformer, I guess in my case, is the way he acts in subsequent Star Wars things. The way he acts in Empire, the way he acts in Jedi, the way he acts in Rebels, really, is the thing that convinces me a lot.
Yeah.
And here's another thing. Who made the call for Ahsoka to be placed with Anakin in the first place? That was him. It's one of those things that seems a little too... And there's also this other thing that happens. When Yoda's trying to sneak out of the temple in the next season, remember when he's trying to follow the whispers of the Force?
Yes.
And he gets Anakin to break him out.
Yes.
He's like, hey, I know if I'm gonna get anybody to break me out, it's gonna be you, buddy. Again, that screams to me that Yoda has a bit of self-awareness, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I'm not saying any of this is gospel. Absolutely not. I just think that it's all very interesting.
I agree. I agree.
I do find it funny that one of the reasons that Anakin's given Ahsoka is to learn more responsibility, but then when they're debating whether or not Anakin should search for Ahsoka, Mace Windu chastises Anakin for taking too much responsibility.
Yeah.
Classic Jedi hypocrisy right there. Also, hashtag Mace Windu don't be an asshole to Anakin every second of every day challenge.
Yeah. Granted.
Yeah.
Granted.
Also, back in the streets, we get a legendary character in the world of Star Wars Galaxy Heroes. Did you notice it?
Oh, the Coruscant Underworld Police.
The Legendary Cup!
Of course.
The Legendary Cup, one of the best characters
Legendary
in Star
Cup.
Wars Galaxy of Heroes. If you do not know what we're talking about, check out Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. It's a fun mobile game. Coruscant Underworld Police has often been referred to as the worst character in the game. It's made him sort of a cult legend in the game. And we talk about Coruscant Underworld Police a lot, and they're in the episodes, so yeah. By the way, when Ahsoka was on the train, did that remind you of Cal at the beginning of Fallen Order?
No, I haven't seen. I haven't played all of Fallen Order. What I have played of it, Eli, I've played with you, so
yeah, no,
I may not have seen all the scenes.
Yeah, the beginning is Runaway Jedi on a train, and this is Runaway Jedi on a train.
Okay.
Both are trying to hide from local authorities. Here's another thing I'll point out to you. Ahsoka never kills a clone in this entire arc.
Yes. Even though they think she does, she
never
doesn't.
killed any clone in this arc. So I'd point out to you that according to a certain Jedi Master, forget who at the moment, she uses the Force for knowledge and defense, never for attack.
Of course, it's Ahsoka.
Yep, that's Ahsoka right there.
Ahsoka.
Do you want to get to Asajj Ventress?
Oh yeah, this is where I think it gets really cool and interesting. You'll love to see it. Ventress coming back. It's interesting how she comes in as kind of a mercenary, and she is very mercenary, but then she still ends up being, in many ways, one of the most dependable people, and she ends up actually volunteering to Anakin information about Barriss. She volunteers that information, saying, "Oh yeah, Barriss," even though that's in the next and that was really fun for me because I've always been interested in Ventress as a character and how I think obviously she's very, very unfortunate, but I really think it's cool when we get to see her kind of take steps towards being a good person, and the fact that she actually does something. She helps Anakin, who's like one of her biggest rivals when she was a Sith apprentice or a Sith assassin, whatever.
That she helps Ahsoka, frankly.
Yeah, and she helps Ahsoka, and she even helps Anakin to do it in order to help Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And I really liked, even though obviously it wasn't a big, huge part of the story, because it's kind of done out of necessity. But I really liked the Ventress Ahsoka connection that we got. I thought that the two characters, I thought they meshed well together. It was cool to kind of see them come full circle, or kind of do a 180, go from enemies to reluctant
allies.
To reluctant allies.
Ahsoka and teaming up with Ventress of all people is an incredible twist, and I think it plays well, and I think it meshes well with Ventress's arc in the Clone Wars. it did feel like she kind of went through her whole thing in Massacre and in Bounty and all those things so that she could end up here. In the same way that Ahsoka went through Mortis and she went through Lola Sayu and she went through, the Younglings arc so she could be here at this very moment. This feels like sort of like the arc of all arcs sort of kind of thing.
Yeah, Varys. Obviously, you hate to see it. since I'm saying you love to see it, you hate to see Ventress get trounced by Barris, no less. But I think it's a great scene. The duel between Ventress and Ahsoka is amazing with the fire and just everything that goes on. But once again, it really just Ahsoka really just she really just can't catch a break. She's in the wrong place at the wrong time. And and arguably that is kind of her fault because that is the path that she takes to try and go rogue to get done what she does. But at the end of the day, yeah, that's unfortunate, and it is really unfortunate that the clones and the Republic seem to really go in on the circumstantial evidence. Like there was no evidence that Ahsoka actually owned, the nanobots.
The lightsaber duel with Ahsoka and Barris, I think, I forgot about the duel a lot, but it really hits with me. It really does it well with me, I think. So when Ahsoka is taken back, notice we go like above those pipes of the Coruscant skyline, and those military warships take her back to the Republic. Also notice that in Gone with a Trace, she's also going on over those pipes in one like rusty old speeder, but she's going the other way.
Yeah.
That's symbolism right there. How, the entire Republic is bringing her back to their, quote, more civilized area, not as an ally, but as an enemy. But then she walks away from it all in Gone with a Trace. She, takes her speeder and goes off and does her thing. It's just her. It's not any of the Republic behind her. It's just her. And she's going back to the place she never thought she'd go. Pretty deep, I think.
Yeah. Definitely.
You got some trivia?
Trivia. Yes, I do. Yes, indeed. So, the character who Ahsoka trades with for a cloak, voiced by Dave Filoni.
Really? I did not know
Secondly, this is very interesting. On the sub-tram map, the subway map in the tram, the Orabesh rating has many inside jokes and references for the production team, including stops such as Lucasville, Filoniville, Skywalker Ranch, as well as numerous references to Los Angeles place names, actually. For example, there's one called Sunset. There's another called Beverly Boulevard in there.
Good stuff.
Great touch. Good stuff, Lucasfilm. Good stuff.
Nice job, Lucasfilm.
Yeah, but that's all I got. You ready to go on to the big finale?
Well, what did you think about this? What do you think about the episode?
Another great episode. Really tragic for Ahsoka. Really kind of cranking the desperation up. As the episode kind of lays out, like, hey, this is a desperate situation. For us to see. Yeah, I really liked it. I really loved getting to see Ahsoka and I was just shooting on Barris. Seeing Ahsoka and Asajj kind of get to team up for once. And it's another way that this arc, I think, even though this arc is really tragic, it's a kind of heartwarming to see all the different things that this arc does, from the big obvious things to little details like the specific gunship in the first episode. It's just cool to see all the different little things that this arc does to kind of hint at how it's drawing this chapter of Ahsoka's life to a close. And I think it even though it kind of ends tragically from the perspective of the time, in a way, I think it really is. This arc is really an awesome way to honor Ahsoka and who she was in the Clone Wars, and how awesome she was as a character.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. This episode kills it. This episode does everything it should. As you said, it develops Ahsoka great as a character. It develops the Jedi Order great as characters as well. Should we get on to the Wrong Jedi?
Yes, the Wrong Jedi.
In the
Do it.
season finale of season 5 of Star Wars The Clone Wars, in the original ending of Star Wars The Clone Wars, before the Netflix revivals and all of that good stuff, Ahsoka is taken back to the Republic, imprisoned, and then the Jedi and Tarkin talk about next actions. Tarkin suggests that they bar her from the Order in order to be tried in a military tribunal in the Senate. The Jedi talk about this. They do a mock trial for her with the real intent of proving her guilty and barring her from the Jedi Order, which they do. Anakin then brings in Padme to help with Ahsoka's legal defense. The trial goes on, but while it happens, Anakin confronts Asajj Ventress, who tells Anakin the truth about what happened. Anakin then goes to confront Barriss Offee, who's revealed to be the actual murderer. They have a climactic duel, and then she is brought into the trial just as a verdict is reached about Ahsoka. Then they put Barriss on trial, and Ahsoka is freed. She goes back to the Jedi Order, who apologize for their mistake and offer her a place back in the Jedi Order. To everyone's shock, Ahsoka refuses and walks away from it all. We fade to black with the dramatic violin music playing in the background, and that's how we end. Fortune cookie is, never give up hope, no matter how dark things seem.
I mean, in a cosmic sense, in a big picture sense, yes, absolutely true. Especially for Ahsoka, this is clearly a low moment for her. I think would have rather the whole thing never happened, and yet she ends up becoming Fulcrum and kind of saving the galaxy. So I mean, yeah, don't give up, because I think it's easy in life, at least in my experience, in my short time on the earth. I think it's really easy to lose sight of the bigger picture sometimes, and to get caught up in the negativity of whatever has beset you. But I think a lot of really hard things that I've gone through in my life, or some of the more difficult things, I look back on now, and I think if I had really gotten what I thought was the best at the time, I wouldn't have ended up encountering so much that I'm so grateful for.
Yeah.
So yeah, that resonates with me. That resonates a lot with me.
No, absolutely. It's one of those things where Ahsoka is put in all these impossible situations, sort of thing, and I like to think of this as her walking away from the Order. Actually, that's what I like to think about it as. I like to think about
Yeah.
her walking away from the Order is never give up hope, because she does not know what's out there for her. She doesn't know, but she's just gonna have to wait and see. You know what I mean? And she just has to work through it by
Yeah.
herself and not with anybody, and she figures that out. Yeah. Let's get into the episode. Why don't we?
Yes. let's get into it. Where do you want to start for this one? Because
So they
there's a
talk
lot we
about
could.
expelling her from the order, and then they bring her into that fake trial. Um, I do think this is a funny thing that Yoda says. This matter clouded they are, as are many things in this time, which doesn't seem like an explanation as much as it seems like an excuse.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
oh yeah, things are clouded, whatever, like screw you and all that kind of stuff. Um, that is the one part where I'm willing to go against Yoda this time because that seemed very dismissive and all that kind of stuff. Do you have anything from that trial, the mock trial,
the Jedi trial.
the Jedi
Um,
trial?
I mean, I think Anakin's absolutely right when he's mad. He says this trial is just a formality. Like, yeah,
Yep,
he's totally right.
it was.
He's honestly he's honestly right. Crazy how the Clone Wars has got me agreeing with Anakin so much. When usually I feel disapproving of his approach to things as a character. Um, but yeah, it's definitely, even though Yoda says like we're not all in agreement, like it definitely feels like they've kind of gone with the narrative of the investigation. But once again, like this is a really fast turnaround time for a trial, especially such a big decision to be handed down. Like compared to real world trials, this is like what, 1 day, 2 days. Like it really can't be that far away in terms of time from the incident, or from especially from Ahsoka's implication. So yeah, it's kind of insane to me that they have such confidence without really having an official, more of an official trial, I guess.
Yeah, this whole fake trial, the formality trial or whatever we'll call it, is a really strange thing that they do. It feels like it's supposed to mollify Anakin and Ahsoka, but it really just makes them more angry.
Yeah,
Which of course it does. Also, did you notice that Mace Windu announces the decision?
I didn't think much of it symbolically. Do you think it represents
I think it's just like,
something
of course
more?
he did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course it's Mace Windu,
Of course it's Mace Windu. Of course
the
it's
one
the
who was
person.
always pissing off Anakin.
Of course it's the one who's most biased against her.
I wouldn't say he's biased against her. I mean,
Not
he
biased
seems
against
like
her, but
he's
like,
pretty fair, but he's definitely a bit of
well,
a grouch.
yeah. Anyway,
If anything, he has more beef with Anakin, or Anakin
yeah,
has beef with him.
yeah. Uh, so and like the close up shot of Ahsoka's eyes as she receives the decision is just this broken look.
Oh
It's
yeah, 100%.
it's awful to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
It's really, it's just really sad.
it's
No way
tragic,
around it.
honestly.
No way around it.
And then uh, and then Anakin goes into her cell and he's like, Padme has agreed to represent you before the Senate, and everybody's like, okay, but what's your real plan, Anakin?
Yeah, like Padme's a senator. She's not a lawyer. She's not.
Also,
She's not a
when has
trained
she had
litigator.
success in the Senate?
Yeah. What? like,
This is the
like,
problem with the Clone
yeah,
Wars constantly telling us that Padme's really good at her job and never
yeah,
actually have her actually do anything.
yeah. It's crazy. It's pretty
It,
crazy.
it's like okay, I will do everything I can to prove your innocence, Ahsoka. What can you do, Padme? Tell me what you can do. Is it more that you're gonna do to stop uh the privacy invasion bill? I sure hope it is because that fell down like because that
Yeah.
failed miserably. Is it more than you were gonna do for the than you were gonna do to block the bill to fund 5 million more clone troopers and deregulate the banks? I really hope it is because that failed miserably on your account. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Uh, and you got anything else for Padme discussing their strategy with Ahsoka?
Um, not really for the strategy discussion. Clearly Padme's doing her best, but yeah, maybe it's just not gonna be enough in this instance.
Yeah. Do you want to go? Do you want to go to Anakin and Ventress next?
Yeah, let's do it. I loved the part with Anakin and Ventress.
Or
Obviously because
sorry,
I
I should
think
say Darth Vader and Ventress.
I mean Anakin obviously using some less than ethical tactics to get his way, but it really feels like Ventress to me it felt like Ventress kind of turned a corner.
So did
With
Anakin,
the
actually. I think.
yeah, so did Anakin, and they went. It's like Anakin's Ventress is going on the up escalator in a way, and
And
Anakin's
Anakin's
passing by on the down
down
escalator,
escalator.
and
Um,
they're kind of high fiving. They're reaching across and they're high fiving in
my
the
lord,
middle.
stormtrooper. My lord, stormtrooper.
Stormtrooper, my lord. Stormtrooper,
Stormtrooper.
stormtrooper, stormtrooper.
Go fuck
Go
yourself.
yourself. Go yourself. Go yourself. God, love Robot Chicken. It's just one of those thrilling moments. It's so chilling watching Anakin. Throughout this obviously
Anakin
the
went to
main point
the
of
Coruscant underworld. I thought that was Vader. Sorry.
Vader, like obviously like one of the main points of the um the the Clone Wars is to show Anakin's fall,
Yeah.
but it really becomes apparent, especially in this episode,
Yeah.
and in this arc, he is so angry and a lot of the time, and
Yeah.
you really can start to see kind of the despair and the great sadness within him. Ahsoka says something about what does she say? She says about in Rebels, Ahsoka says about Yoda. He carried a great sadness within him as if he knew before anyone else that one era was ending and another was beginning. But I think that's just as applicable to Anakin. Actually, that might even be about Anakin. I'm not sure. That could be about
No,
Anakin.
that
That could be
was
about Yoda. I
Yoda.
can't
That
remember.
was Yoda.
That's about Yoda. Okay.
Yeah,
I
but still.
I think that could be applicable to Anakin as well. And we
Yeah.
see that here with
Yeah.
him, the way he really gives into his ferocity and his anger. And just like, wow, like what is happening to this guy?
There's a quote that I cannot forget. That when Anakin's force choking Ventress, he goes, "Tell me what happened,"
Yeah,
and that that to me sounded in the same vein as, "Love can't save you, Padme.
yeah,
Only my new powers can." It's this desperate anger.
yeah,
It's chilling, is what it is.
absolutely.
It's part of that transition to Darth Vader that we get. Should we get to the trial?
Yeah, let's get to the trial.
Yeah.
It's shocking that Tarkin seeks the death penalty. Like
Yeah, that is
he
weird.
makes that clear,
Also, by
and
the
yet
way, did you notice who was behind Palpatine?
behind him, I did
Yeah.
not.
Royal Guards. Those were the
Oh
red
yeah,
robe guards.
the first appearance, right?
Yeah, those aren't the
Wow.
blue Senate guards. Those are the red guards.
I mean, you want to talk about foreshadowing,
Oh
right? But
yeah, man,
you
so
want to talk
much.
about symbolism. You want to talk about the game saying this is the end of an era. This is the beginning of the Imperial. Did I say the game? God, you want to talk about the show saying this is the end of one era, the beginning of another. I mean, what better way to do that than the Royal Guards, the symbol of imperial power?
Yeah,
Not the most iconic, but but yeah, it's just the trial is so insanely biased
yeah,
that it's absolutely astonishing. And I think at this point, rewatching it, I was like, oh yeah, no, I don't blame Ahsoka for running away. I don't blame her at all for not
Yeah.
cooperating
There,
with the investigation, with the law enforcement. When this is what you're going up against, when the literal chancellor of the republic is speaking of your in favor of your guilt, that is so insanely biased.
yeah, there is that
Like,
there's that part of it, and how Tarkin acts so incredibly like just insensitive in the trial, and everybody lets him get away with it.
yeah,
Like my
like he
favorite
says
part of
things
that
that
whole
he should
thing,
not say.
yeah, my favorite part of that whole trial actually is members of the court. You are prosecuting the wrong Jedi.
Yeah, no, it's like,
Tarkin
I mean, it's
slow
classic
claps
Tarkin. Like,
Padme. He slow claps Padme. It is the most respectful form of disrespect I've ever seen.
yeah, I mean, I think this is an instance where he can get away with a lot because everyone at this point, or a lot of people, are very prejudiced against the Jedi,
Yeah,
which kind of obviously it will, even if they're trying to be unbiased, this will inform the results, the proceedings, like it or not.
yeah,
So I think he can get away with a lot. But man, this is one of those moments where you're just like, Tarkin, I don't like you very much.
yeah. We
Starting
don't
to think
like him.
this Tarkin guy is a this Tarkin guy is a bit of a pain. That's
Yeah,
yeah, that's how
it's
I feel.
crazy. Honestly, it's nuts. And then there's that line, of course. My master's trying to find the true killer. Then maybe he should be looking at
Yeah,
you. That is harassment.
that's got to be unruly behavior.
That's
That's too much.
harassment from the prosecution to the accused.
Yeah, go on.
Speaking of all of the legal behavior that happens, this is an exciting announcement that Jacob and I have announced, but this is not our last episode talking about the Ahsoka's trial. Jacob and I will be debuting an episode next week where we will be sitting down and talking with the Star Wars movie trivia showdown champion of the world and also professional lawyer himself, Thomas Harper, to talk about the legal implications of this arc and how it would have been executed had it been a real world trial. And it was a great conversation. We had an awesome time with him, and you should check it out next week. It's gonna be awesome. By the way, did you notice that Palpatine was speculating about a separatist plan to rip the Republic apart?
Ironic.
Or as he would say, ironic. Yeah.
Yes.
Do we want to get into the big reveal of Barasafi?
I think we gotta, because it's an amazing scene.
It's
It
a
is so
crazy
cold.
reveal.
It is so cold. The scene
Yeah.
when Anakin just steps in the room, when she's like, "Oh, enter," and then doors open, you just see Anakin's silhouette standing there. God, that is so cold. It is amazing. I honestly can't get enough of that scene. Matt, you wanna lead us off?
Should have gotten rid of them. I think they
Yeah.
suit me. It's a shocking twist that makes so much sense. You know, when we were talking about Geonosis with Alden Diaz at the beginning of this year, you know, we talked about Luminar's training methods of Barris, and we talked about how those could, you know, foment in her mind and start to, like, really get some gears turning into her head. I'm thinking about, like, you know, when she memorizes all 200 and something roots in the Geonosian catacombs and just writes it off like it's nothing. I'm trying to think of what that style of training could do to a Padawan, especially a Padawan who's involved in a war. And it's these little seeds that are planted that Barris just kind of loses it. And
I think she, at a certain point, I think clearly part of her dismay and part of her resentment for the Jedi Order, what makes her do it, is simply the fact that she's given so much of her life, and then she she feels like she's given so much of her life to the Jedi Order, and so maybe she thinks to take that back, to be able to kind of take that back or make up for it, she has to do something really drastic now that she believes that the Jedi are like evil.
Yeah. By the way, I do love that during their duel we see the younglings from the Youngling arc with Terrace Nube, and Petro even gets a line.
Yeah.
They didn't have to have them that there if they just did anyway.
I know, it's great.
Although, why did the Padawans just stand there?
They were, I don't know. They definitely just stood there.
Yeah, why did Terrace Nube stand there? Like, we know that he can do his thing with a lightsaber. I mean, Anakin didn't need any help, but like, I also find it interesting that Anakin probably uses the dark side more in that duel than Barriss does.
Yeah, no, it is chilling how Anakin taps into his rage. Obviously there's the meme of the only thing the Jedi believe in is violence. Anakin, okay, let me ignite my second lightsaber. But like the ferocity with which Anakin goes at Barriss, especially at the end of the duel, it's scary, man. Like
it's frightening, and then there's there's that thing where Anakin pulls Barriss and then slams her against that tree.
Yeah,
it's horrifying, is what it is. It's horrifying. Before we get to the actual result of the trial, what do you think? Do you think so? Ahsoka was received her result by an overwhelming count. Palpatine says before he's interrupted.
Yes.
Do you think that was guilty or innocent?
Oh, guilty, 100%.
Yeah.
There's no way that the court would. I think there's no way that the court.
I'm pretty convinced it was innocent. I still want to know though.
No, I think it had to be guilty. I think there's no way that the court could, in good conscience, like, no matter her character.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was guilty, but I just wanted to know
conduct.
Anyway. Yeah.
Their previous good conduct. Like, at a certain point, as a juror, like, you'd have to use the evidence given to you.
I want to bring up one more line, then I'll pass it over to you about this whole crazy episode. I got one line, and it's maybe Matt Lanter's best delivered line, I think, in the entire Clone Wars series. Barriss Offee, member of the Jedi Order and traitor. Kills it. Kills it. When I think of this arc, my mind automatically goes to that ringing line in the courtroom.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so great. It's awesome. Any thoughts about any of this trial?
I would say it is sad, but it is predictable.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. I mean, Barriss's monologue,
Barriss's monologue is perfect.
A lot of what she says is right. I think that she's right about the Jedi. She's like,
100%. I wrote it down. The Jedi are the ones responsible for the war. That we've so lost our way. Let me repeat that. Lost our way. That we've so lost our way that we have become villains in this conflict. That we are the ones who should be put on trial. All of us.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting turn of phrase. I love the way it's structured here. The Jedi are the ones who should be put on trial. Really, the Republic are the ones who should be put on trial. Of course she doesn't know the greater circumstance, but I love this. It's great. This is the delivering of the thesis statement of the Clone Wars about the Jedi. And then, of course, Barriss gets convicted of murder. A whole lot of murder, actually. Let's get to the line. My favorite line from this, probably my favorite line from this entire arc. This was actually your great trial. Now we see that.
Right.
Sure.
I'm not sure about that one.
Sure.
Yeah, sure it was.
Sure, Mace Windu. Sure it was. I don't really think you can accuse somebody of murder and then after they're proved innocent say, it was just a prank, bro.
Yeah.
I don't really think he can do that, and I don't know why Mace tried, frankly.
Yeah, like I think they believe that. I think they really believe that, but I think that their kind of force dogma clouds them to the way that they've really hurt Ahsoka and to the way that they need to just take responsibility
Yeah.
in order to
Can
make
you
it
not
right.
see ever when you're wrong?
Yeah.
That's my thing, is can they not ever see when they're wrong?
Don't think the Jedi can.
Yeah. And then, of course, 8 words. I'm sorry, Master, but I'm not coming back.
Man. I mean, boom goes the dynamite.
Boom goes the dynamite. It is a humongous. It might be the craziest twist of the series, but it feels so right. I gotta say, it's incredibly well done. It's incredibly built up too. There's a line, Last Jedi line, that I go back to when Luke is meditating with Rey. To say that the Jedi alone control the Force is vanity. Can you feel that?
Yeah.
Ahsoka's realizing that the Jedi are not the only option for doing good
Yeah.
in the galaxy. She's not. She doesn't feel like she can live with the baggage anymore.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's one of those things where Ahsoka forging her own destiny will permanently change the universe.
Yes, it will. She just, yeah. She
And
has such an impact.
I like to think of actually this arc as the bridge between the first part of Ahsoka's character arc and the second part.
How so?
Because
I mean,
she has the Jedi Padawan part. She has the part where she learns who she is. And then the next part is how she learns to better employ who she is.
yeah, okay.
In Rebels, in The Mandalorian, in the Siege of Mandalore, and all of that stuff. And the fun part is, I think that, of course, that second part hasn't even, really begun yet. We've seen Rebels a little bit, we're seeing Mandalorian. She's getting her own show. I wouldn't put it past more appearances I wouldn't pass her for more appearances in The Mandalorian or any of the other TV shows. But the fact of the matter is, her journey ends here, but in many ways it's just beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got anything more to say before we get to Anakin and Ahsoka's talk outside?
No, I mean, I think Ahsoka honestly makes the right call here.
I do too.
I mean, like obviously 2020 hindsight where Ahsoka's story ends up. But it's honestly one of the most courageous things of all that she trusts her own instincts over everything that she's ever known and been taught, which is all, and everyone she's ever known pretty much, which is contained within the Jedi Order. It's incredibly courageous of her.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's get on to the next line. I understand. More than you realize, I understand wanting to walk away from the Order. I know.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
It's one of those things that makes me think that Anakin would have told Ahsoka about his and Padme's relationship before Obi-Wan.
Yeah. I definitely, yeah.
Yeah, this is it's one of those things this arc in this specific moment, a moment in this episode is so incredibly powerful. Remember, The Wrong Jedi won the best episode on our bracket stream, our first Clone Wars bracket stream, basically for this scene. I mean, and I also wrote down, Ahsoka walking away from the Jedi Temple mirrors her walking away from the Sith temple in Twilight of the Apprentice. Both times she walks down steps from
Oh yeah, that
from
idea.
temples,
Wow,
walking away from Anakin.
wow, I hadn't even considered that before.
Yeah,
That's
yep.
yeah,
That
I didn't
adds
even
more
consider that
dimension to
before.
this. And
100%.
don't even get me started on the music.
God, the music.
The music
It's
kills.
absolutely
The
haunting.
music slaps. And it does exactly what it needs to do. The funny thing about this is the music is, if I can get a little music theory nerdy, isn't a major key, which usually denotes happiness.
Yeah,
But it is the
but it's sad.
most depressing theme ever. And it is the beauty of that. This feels so wrong, but it feels so right.
Yeah, it's just a landmark moment. Like, it is a landmark moment.
It is a crazy moment. There's no denying that. Absolutely. Um. So, what do you think of the arc, and how would you rank them?
Hmm. These are hard to rank because I think they're all incredible episodes in their own ways. But with that being said, number one would have to be the Wrong Jedi. For me, number two would be To Catch a Jedi. Number three would be The Jedi Who Knew Too Much, and number four would be Sabotage. But they're all so close.
Yeah,
They're all so close
mine
that
would be the same as yours. Honestly,
yeah.
I think the Wrong Jedi is the best of all four of them. It's a
This may be the.
heartbreaking.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this may be the first time ever that we completely agree on our rankings for a
Yeah.
group of episodes.
It
Wow.
it, it, it takes it takes the literal most heart pounding episode of the arc to do that.
Yeah, it does.
It's one of those. Yeah, it not enough can be completely said about this arc to talk about it completely, but it is one of the most game changing arcs in the entire Clone Wars. You know, from the beginning, I know people were talking about how is Ahsoka going to survive Order 66? What was Ahsoka's fate going to be? And this may be one of the most beautiful fates. As weird as that sounds, it may be one of the most beautiful fates that Ahsoka could have received. And it was, again, it was so well executed, and it was so just beautiful that it makes the arc just worth it.
100%.
Yeah. Should we get on to everybody's favorite part of Star Wars in the Galaxy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. So much to appreciate in these episodes.
Absolutely.
Even just thinking about them now, I feel like, wow.
Yeah.
I'm kind of speechless.
Oh, 100%. Everybody's favorite part of Star Wars in the Galaxy. Everybody's favorite part of Star Wars in the Galaxy. What you brought me today is worth 1/4 portion. That's right, we got 1/4 portion. Today we have Star Wars It's a Long Story, the segment where we badly explain Star Wars to each other. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
Your job is always guess the Star Wars story, guess the episode, whatever it may be. A bunch of wizards narrowly avoid crashing into the sun, then defend a bunch of Scottish lemurs from a pyromaniac.
That would be Jedi Crash and Defenders of Peace.
Yes.
The Scottish lemurs thing was the giveaway, but yeah. Okay, are you ready for mine?
Yes.
A guy falls into a hole, gets out of the hole, and then becomes a gangster.
Falls into a hole, gets out of a hole, and becomes a gangster. Oh gosh. Maul. Wait, which? Oh, Revival. Maul. Revival.
No.
No. Mm. I feel like I feel like it might be referencing Maul, but I'm not sure. I could be totally off. Mm, wasn't a hole gets out of a hole. So is it solo?
No, it's not Solo.
It's not solo. Oh man. I'm not sure. What is it? I think I've struck out.
Why speak of conflict when cooperation can make us all rich?
That hasn't even come out yet. What? No. Okay. Well played. Well played.
The Book of Boba Fett coming to Disney Plus December 29th, 2021. This is the final episode to be recorded before the release of the Book of Boba Fett. He falls into a hole, Sarlacc pit, gets out of the hole,
Yeah.
Sarlacc pit, becomes a gangster.
That's fair.
I could also have described it as the rescue, because that has actually aired with the stinger afterwards. Anyway, that's gonna be it for this episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy. Thank you so much for listening. You can check us out at In a Galaxy Pod on Twitter, at Star Wars in a Galaxy on Instagram. You can listen to us Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts, we'll be there. If we're not, of course, contact us. You can do that by emailing us at swinagalaxy@gmail.com. Leave us a 5-star rating and review on Anchor, on Apple, and now Spotify does it too. Leave us a rating on Spotify. Next episode we are going to be talking with Thomas Harper, as we mentioned earlier, about the legal implications of Ahsoka Tano's trial. So be on the lookout for that. It's going to be a great time. We had so much fun recording it. It was a pre-recorded episode that we did a few months ago. It was a lot of fun. Until next time, may the Force be with you. Always.